Your hand is already moving before the child falls. Nothing has happened yet. The fall exists only in your body as a tightened shoulder, a held breath, a private image of teeth against metal. A climbing frame can look like height, bone, liability. But to a developing nervous system, it may also be a measuring instrument. Every rung, every slope, every loose grip is a dial the child's body is trying to read. This is not an argument for neglect. The boundary is colder than that. Injury probability is the actual chance of harm. Perceived risk is what the child feels. A hazard is harm the child cannot read. Useful risk is a visible challenge. The child can test, retreat from, and survive. In ordinary terms, it is the half-inch shoe slip that tightens your muscles before the child even reacts. Hold that thought for 1 second. The immediate payoff is this. The child is not only playing near danger. The body is calibrating height, grip, speed, balance, negotiation, and the feeling of fear ending without catastrophe. The first discomfort is that the adult may be interrupting a measurement, not preventing a disaster. The obvious belief is almost mechanical. Make childhood safer, and the risky moments disappear. Fewer edges, fewer falls, fewer calls from school. The adult mind reads this as protection, because injury probability is the first thing it knows how to count. But safety is not the same as silence. The UK Play Safety Forum separates acceptable visible risk from hidden unmanaged hazard. In ordinary language, a loose, rotten bolt under a platform is danger because the child cannot inspect it, choose around it, or learn from it. A visible ladder is different. It gives the body information, where to place the hand, when the foot feels too high, when to retreat. So the question changes. A clean playground can become a quiet instrument panel. Fewer alarms, but also fewer readings. Nothing asks the child to estimate grip, slope, height, or return. The system looks calmer, yet the fear system receives less data. This is the first reversal. Useful risk is not the opposite of safety. It is readable uncertainty under control. The goal is not to make childhood sharper. It is to stop confusing every sharp edge with the same kind of threat. Once risk is separated from hidden hazard, the playground stops looking like random disorder. It begins to look like a taxonomy. Sandsetter's categories name the pattern. Play at great heights, play at high speed, play with dangerous tools, play near dangerous elements, rough and tumble play, and play where children can disappear or get lost. Translated back into the body, the list becomes simpler. How high can I go? How fast can I stop? How hard can I push without hurting? How far can I be from an adult and still return? But this is where it gets more precise. These categories are not a child's manifesto against safety. They are repeated measurements. The body approaches an edge, feels the signal, retreats, updates, and returns. Risky play is a calibration loop. Approach, feel the signal, retreat, update, return. It is not a leap into chaos. It is a nervous system taking readings. In the Trondheim preschool observation, children tended to approach risk progressively rather than randomly. They did not simply rush toward the largest fall, the fastest movement, or the hardest collision. They tested. They withdrew. They adjusted distance, force, speed, grip, and proximity to adults, then came back with a slightly revised sense of what the body could manage. That detail matters. To an adult, the movement can look inefficient, even reckless. Up, down, stop, return, climb, hesitate, descend, try again. But to the child's fear system, that rhythm is the data. The first attempt asks a question. The retreat keeps the question survivable. The return tests whether the answer has changed. This is why removing every visible challenge does not only remove injury pathways, it can also strip away the readable structure that lets fear become more accurate. A child cannot calibrate height in an environment with no height. A child cannot calibrate force if every rough contact is treated as collapse. A child cannot calibrate separation if distance from an adult is never allowed to become measurable. The behavior is not clean because measurement is not clean. It comes with trembling hands, bad timing, laughter that turns too sharp, and brief retreat, cold data. The child is not worshiping danger. The child is asking the body for numbers it has never measured before. The fear around risky play usually predicts a simple equation. More bodily uncertainty should mean more harm, but the evidence does not behave that cleanly. Bruce Noni's 2015 systematic review of 21 studies linked outdoor risky play with physical activity, social health, creativity, resilience. The mechanism becomes easier to feel when the environment is treated as a menu of possible movements. A flat surface offers one menu. Fixed equipment offers another. A movable plank, a slope, a hiding place, and another child's body weight offer different questions. Can this shift under me? Can I slow myself before the bottom? Can I negotiate force with another person before it becomes too much? This is where Bundy's Sydney playground intervention matters. The change wasn't a sermon about courage. It involved loose materials and less standardized space. In bodily terms, The child wasn't being told to become brave. The child was being given more menu items to test. A small distinction, a large consequence. Kitas, Finland, and Belarus, affordance work points in the same direction, through independent mobility and action possibilities. An affordance isn't just an object sitting in the world. It's what the body can do with that object. Climb it, move it, hide behind it, balance on it, avoid it, share it, or misjudge it and correct the error. So overprotection doesn't only add supervision. It can delete menu items before the child learns what they mean. The adult may see a simplified place and feel relief. The child's nervous system may register a thinner world, with fewer chances to compare intention against outcome. This isn't reckless injury exposure. It's complexity under readable limits. And when the environment is simplified, the child isn't merely safer. The child may be receiving fewer readable signals from the world. Earlier evidence showed that complex places give the body more to measure. But the deeper mechanism isn't only physical. It's also what happens to fear after the frightening moment ends. In anxiety maintenance models, avoidance gives short-term relief but blocks corrective learning. In ordinary language, the body escapes the wrong, the slope, the rough contact, or the uncertain gap, and the alarm goes quiet. But the alarm went quiet because the situation ended, not because the body learned it could stay, adjust, and survive. That's the unclosed file in the nervous system. Avoidance stores the event as unfinished. The file says, threat appeared, rescue arrived, relief followed. It doesn't say, threat appeared, balance returned. Nothing catastrophic happened. One version teaches dependence on removal. The other teaches calibration. This is the uncomfortable part. The adult may experience rescue as protection. The child may experience that same rescue as the only reason the fear stopped. If the sequence repeats, the nervous system receives a very precise lesson. Fear ends when the world is edited for me, not when I learn the boundary myself. Clinical work has a parallel language for this. Exposure and inhibitory learning describe the process of meeting a feared cue in a controlled way, so the brain can form a new association beside the old alarm. It's like touching a cold handle after expecting a burn. The old prediction doesn't vanish, but a new record is placed next to it. Childhood play is not therapy. It should not be treated as a clinic disguised as a playground. But ordinary life calibration uses a related logic, in a looser and older form. A recoverable slip, a frightening rung, a contested push, a fast descent, a pause before trying again. These are not moral tests of courage. They are data points the body can read. The body needs endings. It needs fear that rises, meets friction, and then comes down for reasons the child can actually feel. The grip held. The foot found support. The other child stopped pushing. The height looked severe and then became measurable. And then, a moment of silence. Overprotection can perform a strange inversion. It protects the child from the small event, while protecting the fear from correction. The surface becomes smoother. The file stays open. So the central question is not whether adults should abandon children to uncertainty. That is a false choice. The real question is whether every manageable fear must be interrupted before it can finish its own lesson. Let the contradiction sit here for a moment. A child protected from every small fear may not become calm. They may become dependent on the world being edited before they step into it. Which brings us back to the hand. The hand that almost stopped the climb was not a symbol of failure. It was protection, arriving before thought, compressing height, speed, bone, and regret into one single command. Stop. But protection is not the same as total removal. The hazard-risk distinction matters because hidden harm gives the child no readable information. A visible challenge does. A broken surface should be removed. A rung the child can feel, test, leave, and try again is a different kind of problem entirely. Sandsetter's progressive testing gives that problem a sequence. Test, retreat, adjust, return. The child is not proving bravery. The body is checking where fear actually belongs. Bersonity's review keeps the mechanism from collapsing into simple panic about injury, because risky outdoor play does not reduce to an automatic injury cost exchange. In plain terms, the bruise is not the only record. The body also records grip, balance, timing. And the moment fear came back down, environmental affordances explain why this lesson cannot be delivered only as a warning. A place either offers the body possibilities or it withholds them. Climbable, movable, negotiable surfaces become a menu of measurements. A flattened world becomes a locked cabinet. And then avoidance-based fear learning supplies the final piece. If rescue always ends the alarm, the nervous system may learn that rescue was the reason survival happened. Not judgment, not balance, not recovery. The small fall becomes a calibration mark. Not proof that protection failed, but proof that the body met gravity and came back with information. The tragedy is not that a child might fall once. The tragedy is that a child may grow up without enough proof that falling small is not the same as breaking forever. 1.5 seconds of absolute silence.